بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So today we are continuing with our lesson of Kitab Al Tawheed, the book of Tawheed, the book of monotheism by Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala. And we've been going through the chapters that he speaks about that which is shirk, and today we will go through باب من تبرك بشجرة أو حجر ونحوهما, the chapter of whoever seeks blessing from a tree or a rock or what is like that. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, he is chosen to speak about this in this chapter as it's one of the things that many people commit shirk with, is that they'll go to a tree or they'll go to a rock or something like that to seek blessing, something that cannot harm nor can it benefit. And we will see through the evidences that he uses, and he begins with the qawl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَفَرَأَيْتُمُ اللَّاتَ وَالْعُزَّةَ وَمَنَاةَ الثَّالِثَةَ الْأُخْرَى أَلَكُمُ الذَّكَرُ وَلَهُ الْأُنْثَى تِلْكَ إِذًا قِسْمَةٌ ضِيزَةٌ إن هي إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن يتبعون إلا الظن وما تهوى الأنفس ولقد جاءهم من ربهم الهدى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, have you not seen, or have you seen Allat and Uzza, and the third of them Manat, the other one? And these three are gods, idols that they used to worship back in Quraysh. In the times of the tribe of Quraysh, they used to worship them in Mecca. Is to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is posing this question, is to you the males and to him the females? Meaning at that time, the males, they used to be better for the people. When a person has a child, he wanted a male. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is posing the questions to them. Do they claim the male and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has daughters? Because they say that the angels are the daughters of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is wrong. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, this is indeed an unfair or a wrong partition, giving the males to the people and the daughters to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In hiya illa asma, indeed they are only names, سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم, you have named, you and your fathers. That these gods have been named by them and their forefathers, the people of Quraysh. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that he has not sent them down. He has not sent them down with authority. And that these people, they only follow a guess or a estimate or something that they've made up, and what their hearts desire or what their souls desire. And these guesses, the only reason that they follow them is because they align with their desires. But if they followed other than their desire, they would have followed, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَهُم مِّن رَبِّهِمِ الْهُدَى, that has came to them the guidance from their Lord. So if they did not follow the nafs, the soul, they would have indeed followed the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the shahid, what we look for in these ayahs, is the beginning, where it mentions the names of the gods, Allat, Wal-Uzza, and Manat. And this shows that worshipping these gods and taking these, or worshipping these idols and taking them as gods, is shirk. And it's something that goes against Tawhid. And that is impermissible to create idols for the sake of worship. And also another thing that we can get from this is that bid'ah, innovation, leads to shirk. Because in the beginning, these idols, Lat, Uzza, Manat, these idols, they were righteous people. They were righteous people who the people at the time when they died, they used to go by and they used to remember the people. They used to go by the graves and they used to remember these righteous people. Lat, for example, the scholars have said that it is someone who used to give food to the people that used to come and do Hajj. So he was a righteous person. So these people, they remembered these righteous people. And every time they used to go past, they used to make dua. And then the generations that came after, they would come and they would see their fathers making dua. And it also shows that ilm, knowledge, it should be passed down. Because when they saw their fathers making dua, but there was no knowledge passed down to what they were doing, they changed the meaning of the dua. Rather than it being a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they made it a dua to the people in the grave. And then they started worshipping them and they made statues of them in front of the graves to remember them by. That as well, that bid'ah as well of making statues, which rather than it becoming a remembrance because the ilm, the knowledge was not passed on, it became an ibadah. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbid or has made worshipping at the graves forbidden. Because if the knowledge is not passed down, then the people will change it, as the people of Quraysh and their forefathers have done. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he moves on to a hadith. And he says, عن أبي واقد الليثي قال خرجنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى حنين ونحن حدثاء عهد بكفر وللمشركين سدرة يعكفون عندها وينوطون بها أسلحتهم يقال لها ذات أنواط فمررنا بسدرة فقلنا يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجعل لنا ذات أنواط كما لهم ذات أنواط فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الله أكبر إنها السنن قلتم والذي نفسي بيده كما قالت بنو إسرائيل لموسى. And then is the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the qawl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. Is the Bani Israel saying to Musa, اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة قال إنكم قوم تجهلون. لترك is the end of the ayah, and then the Shaykh, and then in the hadith it says لتركبن سنن مكتوب سنن من كان قبلكم, or is narrated on the authority of Abi Waqid al-Laythi, who was a Sahabi radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet, that they came out with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Hunayn. And this was close when they became Muslims. They were new Muslims. And the mushrikeen, the polytheists, they had a lottery that they used to go and grab onto, and they used to seek blessings from. And they used to put the weapons on it. So it was called Dhatu Anwar, that tree of swords. So they went past another lottery. And they said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is the Sahaba, "O Prophet of Allah, make for us a tree just like you have made for them." And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allah is great. He said, Allahu Akbar. Allah is great. Indeed, this is from the traditions of the past. And he says, it is the traditions of the people of the past, and by the one who has my soul in his hand, meaning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have said, like the children of Israel have said to Musa. And it says the ayah, make for us gods, or a god like you have made for them, or like they have gods. And Musa said to them, Innakum qawmun tajhalun. Indeed, you are a nation who are ignorant, or have ignorant behavior. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, indeed, you are upon, or you wish to be upon, what those before you were upon. And this shows that those that came before, that took things as gods and wishing that things are gods, is impermissible, because this is the acts of jahili. This is ignorant acts. Just like Musa alayhi salam warned the people that you're ignorant if you wish to have gods like them, because this is shirk, and this is going against Tawhid. And it shows that you can't seek blessings from a tree, and it links back to the chapter. It links back to the title of the chapter, because the Shaykh rahimahullah, he mentions trees in the chapter. So it shows the impermissibility of worshipping trees or seeking blessings from the trees. That is haram, it is shirk. And it also shows that throughout all the prophets, Tawheed has been their call. The oneness of worship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be worshipped alone. La ilaha illallah. That there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. That this is what it means. As some claim that La ilaha illallah means that there is no power other than Allah. La quwwata illa Allah. Lakin, this is wrong. The correct meaning of La ilaha illallah is that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. And it is shown here that you should not call to other gods or take idols and trees and things like that as gods. And when you give the tree or the rock the power, or you believe it has the power to bless you, you are taking it as a god, because the only one that can bless you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why it is shirk. So throughout the generations, Tawheed has been called to, and shirk has been warned against. And just like these idols are taken as gods, many people now, they take awliya, they go to seek blessings from so-called righteous people, from graves. Even now we see protection or blessings seeking from amulets all around the world. Things hanged upon rocks, donkeys, whatever it may be. Subhanallah, people, they go to Mecca and they go to Medina and they go to certain places and they start touching on the rocks, seeking blessings. Subhanallah, I went to Mecca and I went to the cave of Hira, and you see people wiping on the rocks and over themselves. People praying there, putting their head down onto the ground. You go to Uhud, you see people grabbing pieces of stone from some of the rocks, from the mountain where the Sahaba was stood upon, the arches. Subhanallah, one of the brothers, he made a joke. He said, from all these people grabbing the rocks, they've shortened the mountain. Subhanallah. But these are just things that have been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they don't harm and they don't benefit. And so-called gods that they make up don't harm and they don't benefit. Idols, awliya, graves, rocks, trees, people, angels, prophets, whoever they may be, they do not harm and they do not benefit apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that a lot of people, they may think, oh, this was in the past times. Or this was only in the times of Quraysh. Only in the times of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Only in the times of Musa alayhi salam. No. To now, people that are closer to us than you think. People that are neighbors with you, they are doing these things. And we know so many people who they've been roped into this because of a lack of knowledge. And the bid'ah, it always starts with the innovations. One small thing leads to another, to another, to another. And with the lack of ilm, jahl, ignorance, just as Musa alayhi salam said, people grab onto these innovations and they turn it into more, and it ends up with shirk. It ends up with worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he goes on in the next chapter, باب ما جاء في الذبح لغير الله. The chapter which has came about those who sacrifice to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or sacrificing to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Shaykh rahimahullah, he will go on chapter after chapter after chapter showing that which is shirk. And inshallah we will take that chapter in the next lesson. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بارك الله فيك. Press the X.